slow to anger, and rich in love. Psalm 145, verse 8. Dear Lord, you are gracious and compassionate, overflowing with love beyond what we deserve. We come to you aware of how easily pride blinds us and how quickly anger rises in our hearts. Yet you see every flaw and still respond with mercy. Teach us, as you taught Abigail, to walk with courage, clarity, and wisdom when tensions run high. Help us to quiet the noise of our frustrations so we can hear your steady voice. Guide our steps by your Spirit, that we might reflect your kindness to a world desperate for grace. Rescue us from Nabal's folly, the instinct to cling to our rights and demand what we believe we are owed. Shape us into people who are humble, patient, and generous in love. Let our lives point others to your goodness, and may your peace guard our hearts and minds in every season. Amen. Thank you for praying with me today. You're listening to The Chosen People. Remain here for a dramatic story inspired by the Bible. Be sure to follow this podcast so you never miss an episode.
Who helps America go farther, fly higher, dream even bigger? People do. Since 1879, our people have been more than a source of energy. They've been a source of progress. Today, that same progress is helping deliver record U.S. energy production, fueling the workers, the makers, the boundary pushers, and risk takers who spark the breakthroughs that move America forward. Learn more about what our people do at chevron.com/USA250.
Previously on The Chosen People.
What's of Michael? Does she ask about me?
David, my sister is young, and my father hates you. There's no way he'd allow Michael to stay wedded to the son of Jesse.
What did Saul do?
Saul has given Michael's hand to another, Palti, son of Laish, wealthy Benjamite, noble in funding much of Saul's escapades.
He's taking everything.
The king stepped inside, leaning back against the stone wall, closing his eyes. His head ached. He let himself drift. As he drifted into an uneasy slumber, he did not know that deep within the cave, hidden in the shadows, David and his men were watching, waiting.
This is your moment, David. You can end the chase, end the exile, end him. Slit his throat. Put an end to this madness once and for all.
David knelt beside him, dagger poised.
Vengeance belongs to the Lord. I will not take his life so that I may be lifted up.
Big banks don't want to fund your business, but Cardiff does. My name's William Stern. In 2004, I founded Cardiff to make funding faster and easier for small businesses. In less than 5 minutes, your business could qualify for up to $500,000 deposited same day, and there's zero impact to your personal credit. Get started by going to cardiff.co/dailywire. Again, that's cardiff.co/dailywire. Cardiff. Borrow better.
Colorado is at it again, trying to silence free speech. A law in Colorado forces businesses to use customers' preferred pronouns, even if they're biologically inaccurate, and even if using those incorrect pronouns would violate a person's religious beliefs or conscience. That's a violation of free speech, but as Colorado has proved time and again, it has little concern for the First Amendment. At Alliance Defending Freedom, we're challenging the law on behalf of a Christian bookstore and a Colorado-based sports apparel company, but a court recently ruled against them. With ADF's help, they appealed the ruling, and they'll continue fighting to ensure Colorado doesn't get away with this next attempt to skirt the First Amendment. Your gift helps protect free speech in cases like this all over the country, and for a limited time, your first gift to ADF is doubled by a special matching grant while funds last. Text PRAY to 83848 or go to joinadf.com/pray to have your gift doubled.
The road from Peyron to Carmel wound like a serpent through the hills, cutting between clusters of gnarled trees and patches of sunburnt grass. The shepherds walked in a tight column, trembling. Their eyes darted to every shadow, every snapping twig in the underbrush.
Nabal should have sent men with swords. These roads are filled with cutthroats.
Just then, bandits poured from the trees like wolves. The boys fought back as best they could, swinging their staffs wildly, but they were outmatched. Rough hands threw them to the dirt. A dagger was pressed against a trembling throat.
Did your master really send you out here without guards? Perhaps he wants you dead. Maybe he'll pay me for your pelts.
Just then, a stone cracked through the air, whistling before striking the bandit in the forehead with a sickening crunch. He crumpled, blood spilling from the deep fracture in his skull. The other bandits turned in shock. That's when they saw him, a lone figure standing at the bend of the road, framed by the waning sunlight. His cloak billowed behind him in the wind, his hand already reaching for another stone. Beside him, his men were emerging from the undergrowth, swords glinting in the dim light. David, the giant slayer, Israel's outlaw hero. Panic surged through the bandits. Some turned to run, others reached for their weapons too late. Abishai moved first, swift as a viper, closing the distance in a few bounding strides. His sword sliced through the tendons behind a fleeing man's knees, sending him sprawling. Then came Jashabim and Benaiah, cutting down those who dared to resist. The road was awash with screams. Then, silence. The remaining bandits scattered, vanishing into the trees. David crouched beside the fire pit the bandits had left behind and smiled.
You should know better than to wander these paths unarmed. What's your master?
Babel, my lord. His land is at Carmel.
And he sent you here, without a guard or arms.
Our master is often distracted.
Well, we've been keeping watch over these roads for months. We've seen men like these.
David gestured to the dead bandits, shrugging.
They strike at travelers, plundering those who are defenseless. But not once have we harmed an honest man. Not once have we taken a single lamb from Nabal's flock, though we have crossed his lands more than once.
David pondered for a moment, trying to hide his desperation. He looked back to his men. They were beaten down by months in the wilderness. Their stomachs were empty, their clothes damp, and their spirits waning. David wanted to give them something, a small reprieve.
The ceremonial time of feasting is drawing near. The time of hospitality. My men have been cold and hungry for many nights. I would very much appreciate it if your master showed us some kindness as a gesture of gratitude.
The shepherds exchanged another uneasy glance.
You could ask him.
David's eyes flicked up.
Sorry, I must rest. Do more than ask. Go up to Nabal and greet him. Say to him, long life to you, Nabal. Good health to you and your household. I humbly request your kindness towards my men, since we have shown kindness to yours. We have safeguarded your flocks and kept them from harm. Now, in this time of plenty, spare what you can for those who have none.
The shepherds hesitated. They knew their master, and they doubted he would receive the request with grace. But they owed their lives to David, so they gathered their flock, bowed in thanks, and departed down the road with a few of David's men. David watched them go longingly. Just one act of kindness, he thought. Just one. Beyond the rolling hills, nestled against the forests, lay the estate of Nabal. Servants scurried like ants through the corridors, hauling platters of roasted lamb, fresh loaves of bread, and flagons of wine to prepare for yet another of their master's feasts. At the center of it all sat Nabal, He sprawled across his great chair as if he were some petty king upon his throne. He was a grossly built man, his belly straining against his robe, his beard unkempt and tangled with remnants of past meals. His lips, stained red from drink, curled into a perpetual sneer, and his breath reeked of sour wine and decay. And beside him sat his wife, Abigail. She was a strong, quiet woman. Her father's debts had forced her into the household of Nabal. She was young, too young to be shackled to such a creature. The doors of the hall opened, and the shepherds entered. A few of David's men followed close behind. Nabal's bloodshot eyes locked onto them, his face twisting in suspicion.
Not only do you return late with my flocks, but you bring strangers into my house. Explain yourselves before I throw you all to the dogs.
My lord, we were attacked on the road by bandits. They would have taken everything, but David and his men came to our aid. They drove the bandits away, retrieved your flock, and ensured we returned safely to the land. David's men have come humbly to request your hospitality in return.
One of David's servants opened his mouth to speak, but Nabal silenced him with a raised hand.
David? Who's David? Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. That outlaw son of Jesse? I see many slaves running for the masters these days. And you come here expecting me to take my bread, my meat, my water, mine, give it to some vagabond and his merry band of outlaws? You must think me a fool. Get out of my sight!
Nabal threw a chicken bone at them. David's men stood for a long while, jaws grinding, fists tightening around the hilts of their swords.
Did I offend you? Draw your swords, I dare you! Our men will flood into this place faster than you can say, shepherd boy. Get out of here! Deliver this message to your peasant prince.
Nabal spread his legs and grabbed his manhood. Laughter spilled out of his belly like something from the sewers. He finished his carp and threw it at them. David's men turned before their anger boiled over. Nabal laughed as they left, leaning back into his seat, his gut shaking with amusement.
David, wait till Saul gets a hold of the boy. His head will be on the king's mantle.
Across the table, Abigail watched her husband with quiet disdain.
Are you certain that you wish to insult the man who once cut down a giant with nothing but a sling and a stone?
Those are children's fables. He's just a shepherd boy, a stray dog escaping from Saul's kennel. I've seen him, and with my own eyes, I'd pop him like a pimple between my thighs.
He and his men have kept this region safe for months. Your flocks have doubled because of him.
Nabal's heavy brow furrowed. She met his gaze without flinching. For a moment, there was silence. Then, Nabal let out a low grunt, waving a hand dismissively.
You're more pleasing than keep your tongue behind your teeth. Now be a good wife and fetch me more wine.
Abigail said nothing. She took the cup from his hands, rose from her seat, and walked toward the kitchens. David's messengers returned and relayed everything to Jashabim. When Benaiah approached David with the news, his face was grim.
What was Nabal's answer?
He rejected the request.
What? Why?
Does it matter?
Of course it does. Tell me what he said.
Words were slurred out of his fat cheeks. They don't mean anything.
Benaiah, Tell me what Nabal said.
Apparently, he doesn't want to waste the resources on a runaway slave. Peasant prince and nobody.
Silence. The slow, creeping silence, darker than the night itself. Then, without a word, David stood. He turned and strode toward his tent. Some of the men thought he would go inside, perhaps to pray, to cool his rage as he often did when tested. But when he emerged, David was fully armored. His sword was strapped to his waist, his dagger sheathed at his side. He was not going to pray. He was going to war.
Strap on your swords.
David, Nabal is a well-known idiot. Are you gonna let him?
The men deserve better than this. 200 will stay behind to guard the camp. The rest, ride with me. Nabal will learn what it means to spit in our faces. Abishai, you run ahead and warn the shepherds that we're coming. Tell them to retreat with anyone they love. Destruction is coming to Nabal's house.
Abishai went ahead. The rest marched in silence. No one dared to speak. No one dared to question. David did not boil with fury often, but when he did, it consumed like wildfire. The heavy wooden door swung open with a crash, shaking the frame as the shepherd stumbled inside. His face was pale with fear, his breath short.
Abigail, I'm sorry, mistress, but I must speak with you.
What's wrong? Is someone hurt?
Not yet, but perhaps soon if we don't do something. David's anger has been kindled against Nabal. He plans to destroy the entire house.
Is this David so fragile that he would kill my husband for mere insults? That doesn't sound like the man of legend and honor I have heard so much about.
David and his men were good to us. They put their own lives at risk to protect us when they could have simply looked the other way. Had it not been for David, Nabal would have lost everything. This is about honor.
The shepherd's voice trembled, and Abigail could see it. David had left his mark on the boy. She tilted her head, intrigued.
Who is this David that he would engender so much loyalty?
She shook her head, dismissing the thought. There was no time for intrigue. Nabal had doomed himself with his foolishness, and it fell upon her to right his wrongs.
My husband is a stubborn man. Even if David marched to our gate, sword in hand, he would not humble himself to apologize. He would rather die first.
Abigail pursed her lips. Her mind worked quickly. She was not a woman prone to panic, nor was she one to stand idly by while disaster loomed on the horizon. She tied her hair up, rolled back her sleeves, and strode forward with purpose.
Come with me. We shall make this right.
The kitchen roared to life under Abigail's command. She clapped her hands, gathering the attention of every servant within earshot.
You, fetch the grain. You, bring wineskins, as many as you can carry. The rest of you, to the ovens. We need bread and cakes quickly.
The servants leaped into action. The fire in the great ovens blazed as they kneaded and shaped the dough. 200 loaves. They poured out wine, filling skin after skin. 5 sheep were freshly dressed. 5 seahs of roasted grain were measured and packed into sacks. 100 raisin cakes wrapped in warm cloths. 200 cakes of figs placed in baskets.
Load them onto my donkey, quickly. We have no time to waste.
Her hands worked tirelessly alongside the servants, wrapping the food and securing the baskets. Once everything was prepared, she turned to 2 of her maidservants.
Go ahead of me, ride up the hill toward the mountain ravine and find them before they reach us. Tell them I am close by.
The maidservants bowed their heads and set off into the night, the donkey's hooves clattering softly against the dirt path. Abigail exhaled. She had saved many lives that night. At least, she hoped she had.
We'll see how feral this outlaw David really is. Will he come to his senses?
The first light of dawn split the sky, casting long shadows over the narrow ravine where David and his men had gathered. Below them, Nabal's vast estate waited for destruction. David had not slept. His hands trembled, not from weariness, but from rage that had burned steady and unyielding through the night.
Are you ready, David? After this, there's no turning back.
He repaid good with evil. May God deal with me severely if I leave even one of his men alive by the time the sun sets.
A ripple of agreement passed through the gathered men. David lifted his hand, a silent command to advance. The men began their descent, until a distant movement caught David's eye. 3 figures approached, 2 women and a donkey burdened with baskets. David signaled for the men to hold. His fingers tightened around his sword as he waited. The women came closer, then knelt before him, presenting an offering of cakes, bread, and wine.
Our Lord David, here is a gift from the house of Nabal.
The men peered into the baskets and laughed, their anger temporarily forgotten in the sight of such lavish offerings. But David did not laugh.
Nabal sent these himself.
Not Nabal. Our mistress, Abigail. She is on her way to greet you now.
Abigail rode toward them, the wind tugging at her dark curls, making them cascade over her shoulders like flowing water. David studied her. He had expected the wife of a man like Nabal to be different, spoiled by wealth, swollen from a life of indulgence. But Abigail carried herself differently. Abigail looked him over as well, taking in the warrior before her. He was not as towering as she had imagined, but he stood like a king already, every movement commanding attention. His curls fell over his forehead, partially obscuring keen eyes that watched her with silent curiosity. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Abigail bowed.
My Lord David, pardon the household of my husband. Pay no attention to his wicked and ignorant words. Frankly, he's an idiot.
David blinked. No false flattery, no attempt to make excuses. She saw her husband for what he was, and she did not shrink from the truth. She straightened and gestured to his men.
I have brought gifts for you and your warriors. May God bless you for your mercy toward the house of Nabal. May he grant you a long-lasting dynasty, for you fight the Lord's battles, not petty squabbles against an obtuse and cranky man. I know that's above you.
A smile tugged at the corner of David's mouth, but Abigail was not finished.
I know that even as King Saul pursues you, your life is bound securely by the Lord your God. The lives of your enemies will be hurled away like a stone from your sling.
At this, David's brow lifted. A stone from your sling. It was a deliberate phrase, one that told him she knew exactly who he was. Abigail stepped closer, her voice softer now. She was speaking only to David.
When God has fulfilled his calling for you and made you king, do you truly want your conscience to be burdened with needless bloodshed? Slaying Nabal would be like pushing a whining toddler. You'll get no satisfaction, only the guilt in knowing that the act was beneath.
Her words were like a cool stream washing over the fire in David's heart. He exhaled sharply and gestured for them to stand down. Immediately, the men relaxed and turned toward the baskets of bread and cakes.
Blessed be the Lord for sending you to me, Abigail. Your good judgment has saved me from reckless revenge, empty bloodshed. It's not like me to be kindled to wrath so easily.
I can only imagine what you and your men have endured. You've gone beyond what others would have done.
A slow smile spread across David's face, one he could not suppress. Abigail laughed at his expression, and David, for the first time that day, laughed with her. A moment of silence stretched between them, one that neither seemed eager to break. But David knew what had to be said.
Go home in peace, Abigail. Your wisdom has not only saved your husband's life, but also my own.
Abigail bowed, then turned back to her donkey. David stood watching her as she rode away, resisting the urge to call her back. She did not turn to look at him, but she smiled the entire way home. Abigail returned to the great halls of her husband's house. She found him at the head of the table, slumped against his chair, already deep into his cups, though the sun still hung high in the sky. His beard was wet with wine, his lips stained crimson, his belly round with excess.
Where have you been? My cup has been in need of filling.
Are you already drunk? It's not even Halloween. You have to meet with the elders of the city tonight.
I didn't pay your father his weight in gold for whining and lectures. I wanted a young, pretty, silent wife.
Nabal snapped, gripping her wrist with surprising strength and yanking her toward him.
Because of your father's debts, he couldn't refuse. You're mine. You'll do what pleases me. When?
Abigail recoiled, twisting away from him, but his fingers dug deeper into her flesh. She had endured this for years. The drunken advances, the slurred insults, the life of a woman bound to a man unworthy of her mind, her heart, her very presence. The house was grand, but she was a prisoner within it.
You ought to thank me, Nabal. I stopped David the Giant Slayer and his men from raiding our home and killing you. After you foolishly insulted him, he marched against you. If not for me and my servants, you would have met the tip of his spear.
The hall fell silent. Nabal's drunken haze lifted just enough for the words to register. His eyes widened, bloodshot and unfocused, and then rage.
You insolent, childish, disobedient!
His words strangled themselves in his throat. His chest heaved. His breath came in short, panicked gasps. One hand clutched at his cheek, the other stretched toward Abigail as if to grasp her, but before his fingers could reach, his legs gave out. He collapsed forward, his heavy body hitting the stone floor with a sickening thud. Abigail watched as Nabal's face twisted in pain, his lips parting in silent horror. The great fool of Carmel was dead, and Abigail was finally free. The news of Nabal's death came swiftly, carried by one of David's messengers who rode hard through the wilderness to bring word. David exhaled slowly, a weight lifting from his chest. Not relief that Nabal was dead, but that he had not been the one to stain his hands with the fool's blood.
Praise you, Lord. Praise you for your justice and kindness. You upheld my cause against them all. You kept me from mindless bloodshed. You sent Abigail too.
He hesitated. Abigail. The name alone sent a flutter through his chest. David smiled, shaking his head.
What a breathtaking moment.
Without another word, he turned back to camp, saddled a horse, and rode. He told no one where he was going. He did not need to. The stars stretched wide above him, a vast canopy of silver, guiding him over the hills toward Carmel. The cool night air pressed against his skin, but there was a warmth burning deep in his chest. He reached Nabal's house, its great stone walls standing quiet in the moonlight. The feasts were over, the drunken revelry silenced. David looked up to the window above. She was there. Abigail sat at the ledge, her hair loose, her chin resting in her hand. She stared into the night, lost in thought, until she noticed the lone rider below. David. Their eyes met. A slow smile spread across her lips, and she rose from her seat, disappearing from the window. Moments later, the heavy wooden door creaked open, and there she was, standing before him in the golden glow of torchlight. David had fought battles against giants and kings, had marched through war and wilderness, had stood before Saul himself and lived to tell of it. But standing before Abigail now, he felt unarmed, vulnerable. She tilted her head, bemused by his nervous grin.
Come for more fruitcakes.
If you have any to spare.
She stepped aside, and he entered. The great hall, once filled with Nabal's drunken boasts, was quiet. They walked together, speaking in hushed tones, sharing stories and laughter as if they had known each other their whole lives. Abigail watched David intently, drawn not only to his words, but to the way he spoke them. His voice was rich and warm, laced with a melody that made her heart tremble. He was unlike any man she had known, brave yet gentle, fierce yet kind. And above all, he listened. He truly listened. David watched her with equal wonder. As the fire in the hearth crackled and the night stretched on, there came a moment, a perfect, fragile moment, where the world outside no longer mattered. David leaned forward, and Abigail did not pull away. Their lips met, soft and uncertain at first, then deepening into something neither of them could deny. Her hands pressed lightly against his chest, his fingers tangled in her dark curls. For the first time in what felt like decades, David did not feel like a man on the run. For the first time in years, Abigail did not feel like a forgotten bride. That night, they fell in love. By morning, Abigail gathered her things, mounted her horse, and rode into the wilderness, not as Nabal's widow, but as David's bride. This Prey.com production is only made possible by our dedicated team of creative talents. Steve Katina, Max Bard, Zach Schellebarger, and Ben Gammon are the executive producers of The Chosen People, narrated by Paul Coltofianu. Characters are voiced by Jonathan Cotton, Aaron Salvato, Sarah Seltz, Mike Reagan, Stephen Ringwald, Sylvia Zaradok, Thomas Copeland Jr., Rosanna Pilcher, and Mitch Lashinsky. Music by Andrew Morgan Smith. Written by Aaron Salvato, Bree Roseley, and Chris Baig. You can hear more Prey.com productions on the Prey.com app, available on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. If you enjoyed The Chosen People, please rate and leave a review.